All right, welcome in both YouTube and Twitch for the thoughts and review for Call of Cthulhu: Shadow of the Comet, the 1993 DOS version. We just wrapped that one up here. First off, just going to start and say that for the most part, it's a pretty good game. I may have some harsh comments a little later, but overall, I thoroughly did enjoy the game. But it does it. That's not to say it doesn't have its flaws, and there's quite a few of them here. So overall, the game's got a really intriguing story. If you're into the Cthulhu, genre or whatever you want to call it, it's got a nice dark story to it. Uh, to my understanding, which I was just told kindly by in chat, it does kind of extend over a variety of books, which I wasn't aware of, but it definitely kind of feels that way after you get done playing it. So they do touch base on a lot of little different things in the anthologies, which kind of brings it to life a little bit. Art style in the game, the pixel art, I thought was very, very well done. The only thing that was a little misleading with the pixel art is this game is a pixel hunt game. There's no way if and or buts about it. Which leads into a couple of bit of the flaws, which I'll get into in a second. But anyway, the pixel art is very good. I thought the audio, when it works, because it does cut out pretty abruptly at times. Sometimes there's some scenes that just doesn't seem to have much audio at all. But when the audio's there, it works. It does help set the atmosphere in some spots, especially in the cemetery, for example. I thought that was just aesthetically, sound-wise, and everything like that. I thought that was put together very nicely, just to kind of give you that creepy atmosphere that it does. So I thought that did a nice job. So, when you put all those pieces together, I think the game does get its message across in that sense. The villagers in this game, first off, it does take place, I don't know if Ismuth is an island itself, but it does take place in a village. There's a couple little outskirt forest areas, and there will be a few islands that you visit toward the end of the game. But the villagers themselves, they're all pretty unique in character and with their personalities and whatnot. So when you are talking to some of the individual characters in this game, you get that sense of like each character has some sort of relative importance to the game, even though a lot of the characters don't. It just kind of gives you that idea that, okay, even though you're talking to so and so right now, even though they may not have any interesting things to say, it does add to like that overall like life to the village. So just having a large variety of characters, I thought was pretty cool. Some games of this genre, anyway, when you're playing, the characters you talk to are just more or less the relevant characters to the story. So, like, if the characters don't have a specific plot point, they're either not in the game or you just can't interact with them. So, at least in here, it kind of puts keeps you a little off guard a little bit as far as like as far as the villagers, like who's actually, I'll say, good versus who's actually evil in this village, and there is a contrast between the two. So it's up to you to kind of like figure that out, who's trustworthy, who's not. So there's a lot of the dialogues. I think the options were okay. I mean, they did their job, but I think at certain points when you talk to certain people, you kind of know right away, like, okay, this guy's, he's not somebody I want to trust in this game. So they kind of like spell it out for you right away. It's like, which is a little ironic as I say that, because one of the characters who's like the sheriff in this game, he does come across as being a very direct asshole toward the main character, and he does, even up at the very end of the game, he still acts the same way. But he's one of the people who is one of the trustworthy characters, so it kind of plays with your head a little bit as you talk to certain people. Some of the puzzles in this game, I think, is where the issue really lies with this game. There's two major issues with this game. One are some of the, not all the puzzles, but there are, like, I could say, think of at least three puzzles off the top of my head. There's a statue and book puzzle in this one house. The crypt itself, which is playing here on the stream. That is the crypt right there. There's a lot of trial and error puzzles in the crypt, which isn't a major issue, but it does get very annoying very quickly, especially when they change. Like, they try and tell you, oh, it's safe to walk here, and like 4 rooms later, no, it's no longer safe to walk, and it's like every room you walk into is like instant death now all of a sudden. It's some puzzles logically, you, in example here, which is what he's, I think, what I'm finishing right now in this video. If you were paying attention to that while I was talking, you do put statues in these two wall pieces, which open up doors, and you think, okay, well, I'm able to walk through these doors now because the gates are open. As soon as you walk in, you die. I just felt like, at that point they're just kind of screwing around with the player. And I was getting pretty frustrated with the logic with these puzzles. And then all of a sudden, oh no, you just gotta flip-flop statues and opens up a secret door, and it's just like, okay. And then so that was two. Even the very last puzzle, which I ain't gonna spoil too much, it requires you to use the camera and things like that again, like you do with the very early parts of the game. And even that is kind of a weird way to finish the game off, as you're just simply trying to take a picture. But the game does tell you functionally that you need to use certain pieces, but they don't really tell you, okay, you got to stick it all in your camera when you're doing it. And then I was kind of like, what? So yeah, logic, when it comes to puzzles, the logic, kind of throw it out the window a little bit in this game. Again, I don't know if that was a design choice, particularly to throw the players off, so you don't, even though, logically the puzzles might have a more simpler way of being answered, but I think they may have been designed to kind of throw the player off, so it takes you even much longer to figure out a simple puzzle, if that makes any sense. But when you're just trying to casually play through the game, it does, and it can frustrate you. And it did to me, without question. So a few of the puzzles, in my opinion anyway, it does kind of require a walkthrough, and it was one of the things going into this game, that I read online, that, yeah, even though this game has got a lot of great qualities to it, which it does, you're probably going to need a walkthrough to get through it. You can force, I don't want to say force pixel hunt, or I don't know what a better way of saying it is, but you can abruptly force your way through the game. You probably could finish it without a walkthrough, but use the walkthrough. That's all I'm gonna say. And the other issue with the game is mechanically how it's displayed to you as a player. If you're familiar with the adventure game genre, whether it's a straight up point and click game or a parser game, it doesn't really matter. Or it just might be simply, clicking items, doing whatever. This doesn't have any pop-ups. There's no visual identification telling you, okay, oh, there's a rug, or there's a window, or, oh yeah, there's a writing on the wall when you hover your mouse over things. You just blindly gotta walk around and just tell the character to look at everything in the room to make sure you didn't miss anything. And at times you don't even know what he's looking at. You just might be standing in the right place at the right time. Oh, and he'll notice that oh, I can open a drawer here. You know, and his bookcase has got a drawer or something. Like, doesn't do a good job of identifying things like most games do. The other issue with this game, as far as the UI, is the way you use some of the items in the game. So even though you may have the items in your inventory, most games you would click the item, whether it's a drag and drop on top of the environmental piece to activate it, or you would click the item, then hit like use if there's a verb system, things like that. But there's ways to click the item and then click the object you're trying to use it on. Not in this game. This game, you literally, in most cases, you have to have the item equipped and look at the item that you want to interact with, and he'll just either do it or he won't do anything. And you kind of, and again, the game really doesn't tell you if you're making a mistake, if you use the wrong item. However, when you do use the correct item, there will be some kind of like something saying, like, you'll have some kind of comment or something he says, or the game will have like a little bit of like a little cutscene of him using the object or whatever it was. So for me, it's just it's an encumbersome way to go through a game. Like I said, it's just, and granted this was out in '93, but I mean, you do have other games that came out prior to this that do use more of a player-friendly UI. But again, I was discussing this before we were doing the review. I don't know if this was particularly like a design choice, whether this was done this way on purpose or not. If it was, job well done to the developers. But if it wasn't, then yeah, this is like one of those games, like, I don't know who owns the license to this at this point, but this could be a game that could use a remake. Just for a more intuitive UI, better way of, just showcasing the environment more to the player, like allowing him to move the mouse around so he can highlight things, just so he can know, like, even if it's just to read something, not necessarily you're using something, but just to look at something and get some dialogue, like, so he's acknowledging, oh, I'm looking at the bed or something. It's like I said, there's a lot of trial and error in this game, and it comes down to just about all that, and you just really got to click on just about everything. Some things you get very lucky with. So those are probably the main two flaws with this game. Like I said, without a walkthrough, I could probably see a lot of people nowadays probably giving up on this, and that's a shame because it is a good game. There's, when you take the wrapping off the package, there's a good game inside. It's just, you just got to know that going in, and really take your time with it. But I think if you have that mindset that you're going to be running into issues with this game, you can probably see your way through it. And it is an enjoyable game. So it's got a good story to it and everything like that. I was very well pleased with that. Ending could have been a little bit better, but a lot of these adventure games, from what I see now, if I going back and playing some of these older ones, they don't really have really well thought out endings. They're just kind of finish the game and congratulations, the end kind of thing. So it would have been nice to have a little bit more of a closure to the end of the game, but it is what it is. So this one's gonna be a little tough, and I might get sort of ripped for this. I don't know. We'll see how this goes, but keeping in mind everything that's good about it that I mentioned, unfortunately, is very overshadowed by the few things that I think that are flawed with this game. and it does really hurt my review or my overall score, which I'll be giving right now. Even though it's an older game, it does have its value as far as the length of the game. Like everything else is pretty solid. It's just the way the game is presented is very frustrating to play, and because of that, I'm gonna have to give it what I give it, and I'm gonna have to give it 5.5 out of 10. I just don't really see any other way around that, unfortunately. But again, it doesn't mean that it's a terrible game. It's definitely above average game. Again, if the UI and stuff was just a little bit more intuitive, the way you interact with everything in the game is a bit better. I think this game easily could have scored like a 7, maybe an 8, because everything else about the game is pretty solid. The audio, like I said, does drop in and out, which also kind of keeps that score down a bit. But when the audio is there, it works. So it's just the thing. This game works. It's good. It's just is what it is. So anyway, that's my review for Call of Cthulhu Shadow Comet. I appreciate everybody kind of stopping in and checking out the review. Whether you're here on live on Twitch or on YouTube watching the video, appreciate you stopping in. You know, if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to drop a comment in and share me your thoughts on this game, what you liked, what you didn't like about it, feel free. And as always, if you like the material, you'd like to come back check it out, please feel free to subscribe. Everything helps the channel. Yeah. So you can follow me. You can find me, I should say, live on Twitch. I try to stream pretty daily. Usually around between 12 p.m. 5 p.m. Eastern. So hopefully see you there for a live stream. And again, thanks for checking it out, and have a good one. Catch you next video.